Hello, we are going to be doing polynomial long division today. So we're going to start off with a normal long division problem with just numbers, just to go through. When you look at this, you kind of think to yourself, how many times does 7 go into 1? It doesn't, so you move on to the next digit and you think, how many times does 7 go into 10? And you think 1. After you put the 1 up top, what you do is you multiply the 1 back down by the 7 and put it underneath, and then you subtract. 10 minus 7 is 3, and you bring down the 8. So that's kind of the process. So let's do that one more time. We have 38. You do 38 divided by 7, and you think, well, 7 goes into 38 5 times. After you put the 5 up there, you multiply it back, and you get 35 down below, and you subtract to get 3. Now, you would do this again, and you put your decimal point, or you would just say, hey, 3 is my remainder. So my final answer is going to be 15 and 3/7 because you put your remainder over your divisor. So that's the process here. So step 1 here was to divide. And once you divided, you got your number up top. Step 2 then was to multiply. Once you multiply, you got this. Step 3 was going to be to subtract, and I put that in red because we're going to actually make sure we are very diligent with that step, with subtracting. And step 4 was to bring down your any other digits, and then after you've done all this, you repeat it. Okay, that's the process for long division, and this is called long division because it takes quite a while. It takes a long time to go through these steps, but the good news is it is the same 4 steps over and over and over again. So once you've got these steps down, then you just have to kind of go through those motions until you're done dividing. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. Okay, so we have 2 different polynomials we are going to divide. So we're going to set this up in long division. So you have 2x squared minus 5x minus 4. We're dividing by x minus 3, so that goes on the outside of the long division. So step 1 is going to be to divide. Okay, so you're going to take your first term, which is 2x squared, and you're going to divide it by the first term of what you're dividing by. So 2x squared divided by x, one of those x's cancels out, and you get 2x. You're going to put that up top. Okay, just like with long division. Step 2 then is going to multiply it back. So, let me label this again. Step 1 there was to divide. Step 2 here is to multiply this back. So you're going to do 2x times x, and you're going to get 2x squared. It has to match whatever's directly above it. That's the whole point of this. You're also going to have to multiply the 2x back to whatever else you're dividing by. So this minus 3. So that becomes a minus 6x. And I want to group it with my like terms. So try to put it under the like terms. Step 3 is going to be to subtract. And again, I am writing this in a bright color, really boldly here, subtract, because we are going to end up subtracting here. Now, we're not just subtracting our first term, but we're also subtracting our second term. So we're going to change both signs. So you're going to change all of your signs in what you're trying to subtract. So we're going to actually go through that subtraction. 2x squared minus 2x squared, those are going to undo each other. And again, that has to happen. Negative 5x plus 6x, it's just going to be an x. And so then our fourth step here is going to be to bring down. Okay, so we subtracted those down, but we're going to bring down that minus 4. So those are the steps, and we need to keep on doing them until we're done dividing. So step 1, again, take your first term here, which is x, and divide it by the first term of what you're dividing by. So x divided by x is 1. And so once we divide that, we put it up top. Since it's 1, it's inherently positive. Step 2 is going to be to multiply this back. So we're doing 1 times x which is x, and 1 times -3, which is -3. Step 2, done. Step 3, subtract. So we're going to subtract the x, and we're going to subtract the -3, changing our sign. Step 4, bring down. These two cancel each other out. -4 and a +3 become a -1. So here's how we know we're done. When we go to divide -1 by our x term, we can't do that. We're dividing out too many x's. So when you're dividing out more x's than you have, then you say, that's done. I cannot divide any further. Therefore, this here is your remainder. And so what we do with our remainder is we're going to put the remainder on top and whatever we're dividing by on bottom. And so our final answer for this is going to be 2x plus 1 plus a -1 over x minus 3. Okay, that's the process. Let's go ahead and take a look at another example here. So here's our division problem. We're going to write 4x squared minus 4x plus 3. We're dividing by 2x plus 3. Step 1 is to divide. So we are going to take our first term, which is 4x squared, and we're going to divide it by 2x. When we do that, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and I have 1x left, so 2x goes up top. Step 2 is to multiply. So we're going to multiply 2x back to each of those. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared, and again, that has to match that first term. 2x times 3 is 6x. Step 3 is to subtract. So I'm going to change my signs for both of those. Step 4 is to bring down. So the 4x squared and the -4x squared undo each other. -4x and -6x is -10x. And then I'm just going to bring down the +3. And then wash, rinse, repeat. We go back to the top. So we're going to do -10x divided by 2x. And so when we divide those, we end up with -5, which goes up top. Step 2 is to multiply the -5 back. We get -10x minus 15. Step 3 is to subtract, so we change our signs. The -10x and the +10x cancel out. The 3 and the 15 become 18. And we try one more time. 18 divided by 2x. I have too many x's that I'm taking out, so this is my remainder. Which means my final answer is going to be 2x minus 5 plus my remainder, which is 18, divided by 2x plus 3. Okay, let's try one more. It's a little bit longer of a problem. So now that we've got that motion down, now we're going to try a little bit more lengthy problem. So we are going to write this out. So plus 2. And we have 3x to the 4th plus 4x to the 3rd minus 5x minus 6. Okay, so step 1 again is to divide. We're going to take our first term of each and we're going to divide those. So 3x to the 4th divided by x squared. So that's going to become 3x squared. Step 2 is to multiply it back. So this one you have to be very careful though. So we're going to do 3x squared times x squared and get 3x to the 4th. If we do 3x squared times 2, we actually get 6x squared. But I'm putting it kind of off to the side here because I noticed that my exponent of my second term is x to the 3rd power, and this is an x to the 2nd power. I don't have anything to group it with, so be very careful with that. Because when we subtract these, Step 3 is to subtract and to change the signs. But when we try to actually simplify and subtract these, this 4x cubed does not have anything else to combine with. Neither does this 6x squared. They are not like terms, so we cannot combine them. So be very careful. What's happening here is my original problem. Notice how it went from x to the fourth to x to the third, and then it jumped to x to the first power. We were missing an x squared term. And so that's kind of where you're going to have a problem like this, where you're going to end up not trying to combine things that aren't alike, is if you're missing a term. Okay, so we rewrote everything and we brought stuff down. That was step 4. Okay, is to bring everything down. Now let's try this again. So we're going to divide. We have 4x to the third power, that's my new first term, divided by x squared. So we have 4x. Step 2 is to multiply everything back. We get 4x to the third power plus 8x. Again, notice how careful I am right now. 4x times 2 is 8x, so I'm grouping it with my like term. I'm going to change my sign and then bring down. So 4x to the third and negative 4x to the third combine and cancel. We get negative 6x squared. Negative 5x and negative 8x is negative 13x. And we're going to divide again. Negative 6x squared divided by x squared becomes negative 6. We're going to multiply negative 6 back to both of those. So negative 6x squared minus 12. We're going to subtract and change our signs and bring down. So negative 6x squared and positive 6x squared undo each other. We have negative 13x, and then negative 6 and plus 12 become plus 6. So now here's an interesting thing. When we go to this dividing, I know we still have an x in our answer, but we're dividing more x's than we have. This is where we're done. We actually cannot keep going because we're dividing out too many x's. This whole thing is our remainder. So your remainder can be just one term, or it can be more than one term. So my final answer for this one is going to be 3x squared plus 4x minus 6 plus that whole remainder, which is negative 13x plus 6 divided by x squared plus 2. So that's the idea of long division. And yes, it does take a little bit of time, but it is the same 4 steps over and over again. So once you get that process down, then it seems to go pretty smoothly. So I hope this helped, and I hope you're having a good day. Thanks.